Hi again. Thanks for joining us today, Emily. We're super excited to chat with you as we celebrate with you on Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month. We go back with our ASB trip, and I know you are a leader on campus, and I can't wait for everyone to know about the things that you do on campus, who you are, and we're honored that you will share about your heritage with us. My name is Adesua Igbenaraka. I use she, her pronouns, and I am joined by my colleague Adeleke.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Adeleke Yowa. I'm a grad fellow with the Career Equity and Access Strand at the Career Center, and I am so happy to be here today.
So, Emily, we'll get started with, can you tell us a little bit about you and how you identify?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Emily Gonzalez de los Santos. I go by she, her, ella pronouns. I am a senior criminal justice and law double major. And I am a American-born Dominican and Puerto Rican American. That makes sense.
Oh,
So great to meet you, Emily. So, in the spirit of celebrating the Hispanic Heritage Month, what does the Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you, and why is it important?
Yeah. Well, I think Hispanic Heritage Month is really important as it really brings into light all the things that Hispanic and Latinos everywhere has done, not only in America, but in different other places. Hispanic Latino culture is something that is so beautiful. And though we have something in common, such as a lot of us do speak Spanish, our cultures are so different and unique. But then we have all these similarities. So it's really nice to always come together and talk about those differences and similarities and celebrate them together.
that's really key because sometimes we forget that there are uniqueness in cultures as well as similarities, and sometimes highlighting those things that make us unique bring us joy. And so I say that because I know that identity plays an important part in who we are. So how has your identity shaped your academic and career path?
Yeah, so for academic, I definitely would say my whole life I felt like I had to be perfect because I understood I was so different from my peers. I grew up in East Boston where um it was like it was a lot of Hispanic Latino people, but there was also more white people and more white colleagues. And so I definitely grew up in a time where I was told speak English, you're in America. Which going off that, like my first language is Spanish. I did learn English growing up and I did have a little bit of an accent, but it really academically to be with my peers, I had to really suppress that side in terms of like I have to make sure there's no accent, you know what I mean? So I'm not different than anyone else and given the same opportunities as everyone else. And so it really pushed me to be very academically driven um, and fight for what I want. And then career wise, I really hope to be a lawyer growing up and work in big law. And only 5% of Latinas are lawyer or 5% of lawyers are Latina, if that makes sense. And so I want to be part of that 5% and continue to make it grow. So yeah.
Well, I know that 5% is gonna be a lot bigger when you get to be part of it. Because I'm pretty sure of that. And as somebody who has an accent, I totally can relate to sometimes the pressure that brings in career and academic settings.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Emily. So, just to delve a little more into your cultural identity, so what have you learned from your cultural identity that has encouraged and empowered you to continue in your academic and career endeavors?
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat that?
Okay, just I wanted to ask like further or like delve more into your cultural identity. So I said that what have you learned from your cultural identity that has encouraged and empowered you to continue in your academic and career endeavors?
Yeah, I think something that continues to really push me about my culture is that like where in DR and PR, it's very more in Dominican Republic in general. Not a lot of people continue after, like, you're lucky if you make it to high school. Not a lot of people continue after that. My mom herself, she came when she was 17 years old to the States and didn't continue too far into college. I'm a first generation student, and so in doing so, that's really pushed me to get my degree, not just for myself, but also for my mom. Because she didn't have that opportunity the way I did. So that's definitely one of my biggest motivators. Um, and also being the first in my family in general to get a degree is really nice.
Hey, to go off of that, can you share? I know you do a lot on campus, so this might be this might be the time that you share some of those. Can you
Mhm.
share some of the highlights that has happened in your academic career so far, your career path that we can learn from as well?
Yeah, definitely. So, like you mentioned, I do hold a lot of leadership positions here on campus, and my identity has made it for me to truly enjoy these opportunities because it gives me a way to truly connect with different students that aren't like my friends. They're different from me. For example, a resident assistant and an orientation leader, which those two gave me a perfect chance to really connect with students and families from Latin and Hispanic backgrounds. And it made it so much more easy for them to come to me and feel more comfortable because they're they're like, oh, I don't like they knew they can speak English if it was more comfortable for them, or they understood that I understood the culture and why they do what they do and where they need more support, like I could support them. On top of that, I've been an alternative spring break leader. And for one of my trips, we were actually able to go to Puerto Rico. And that was very exciting as it's part of who I am. So I was really able to share that side of my culture with my peers and different students from the university. And it was really nice because I've gone before the trip. So I was able to tell people, like, no, this is really good. Like, we should definitely go here. I think you'd really enjoy it. So everything from dance to food. It was lovely. And then, sorry, one last thing. I'm a diversity peer educator where this year, I really focused on Latinx Heritage Month and lifting the voices of our community on campus. And it's been really exciting to really plan events around it. So I've done a Benito's Bagel so far. We actually just had a dance workshop where we brought in salsa masacote and we brought in food from Dominican places nearby. And it was so much fun.
Ah,
We have more.
I, I missed out on the food though, so
Oh my God, food was so good. Las Palmas, that's where it's from.
all right, good to know. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
One of the things that we talk about is um, building social capital. And you mentioned that you are first gen. And so based on the connections that you've made on campus, the relationships that you've had on campus, can you talk about mentorship and what that means to you?
Yeah, definitely. For starters, I feel like a mentor is someone who's truly there who to invest their time and you invest yours to really help you and uplift you. And I think being a first gen student, it's really important, especially going to university, to find that mentor. I've been fortunate enough to have found my people here on campus because college, when you don't know it, but everyone else does, feels like this huge inside joke that you don't know what people are talking about. It's like you feel like you're missing out on something, and you just have to work 10 times harder to understand what everyone else is understanding. I was lucky enough to find Beatriz Patiño in the Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion. She has truly helped me find my place here on campus, um, not just as a student, but as a Latin student, um, because it's hard to be the minority in a PWI where it's like there's a lot of people who are like you, but they don't know where those resources are. So B helped me build that community where we can provide those resources for other people as well.
Thank you so much, Emily. So, while I was like researching and trying to get like a very good information about you, I noticed that you worked with the Boys and Girls Club of Boston, and I'm just curious, like can you share some experience working with young people, like vibrant young people, and what did you enjoy most about it?
Yeah. So I attended the Boys and Girls Club when I was 15. I started as an attendee, and
Mm,
honestly, probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me, because for the first time, I was in a space where I wasn't the minority. I went to the Boys and Girls Club of Roxbury, so it was all predominantly Black and Brown folks, a lot of Hispanic and Latin folks as well. And for the first time, I never had to explain why I do what I do or why I need this. Um, I was able to, a lot of what I do in college, I was able to do at the Boys and Girls Club. And so I knew I wanted to continue supporting the community here when I got to college, build programs and events surrounding marginalized communities here on campus. All because of the Boys and Girls Club. I was also able to work as a staff member and lifeguard there. So, like you said, working with younger folks. And it was something I felt very privileged to do because I was another staff member that looked like the kids I worked with. And so they knew, oh, I want to do that when I'm older, or even though I didn't know what I was doing, but I was able to provide some guidance for the kids as well. And they knew that their identity didn't have to stop them from accomplishing what they wanted. So that was really refreshing. Because they'd see what I'd accomplished and they're like, oh yes, I want to be like that. Or what was something that was said a lot, like, um, period, I want to be a girl boss. Like those are like some of the things the kids would say. And so it was really nice working with the youth and pushing them to like their greatest abilities possible. So
It's pretty cool. I like when people say girl boss, but I'm like, I'm just a boss. That's it.
I'm just a boss.
Yes. Well, speaking of being the boss, the first time you and I met was during our planning for our trip to Minnesota, and you were team lead, and I was pleasantly surprised that at the time you were a second year student, and I was like, wait, she was a senior. Like, no, I'm like, what? And that was just because of the way that you led the team, the way that you problem solved, the way that you included people in everything that you were doing. And you were just a phenomenal leader on that trip with the person who was a senior and who was graduating, that I could not have guessed that you were a second year student. And so I was like, okay, I know she's going places. So that's for sure. And I was really honored and proud to be on that trip with you and the other students. And so that leads me to your experience here on campus as the summer housing team lead, where you were supervising over 20 people. What strategies do you have for managing a large group and keeping everyone aligned on a common goal?
Yeah, I feel like boundaries is definitely like having very strict boundaries. Um, I think was the most important thing, especially because a lot of the students who I was managing were my age or a little bit younger. So it's similar to ASB, where actually a lot of the ASB members were older than me at the time. So it was kind of like, how can like, I know I'm your supervisor, but also like we're kind of on the same playing field. So And so having very strict boundaries and explaining like, yes, we can be friends, but before that, I am your supervisor. So please see me as that and respect me as that. Because I mean, at the end of the day, the job needs to be done first. And then the other thing too is I didn't want it to seem like I'm just your boss. Like we can still have fun on the job. So a lot of times what I really tried doing was trying to connect with the people who worked with me, um, either on a smaller group level. So I remember like 4th of July, like people were very interested in seeing the fireworks. And I was like, okay, like we can make this a group thing. We can really share our interests and share them with the group. One thing about me, like I love learning about other people's interests and cultures and really putting it out there. So we went to see the fireworks. Another one was like a potluck. Um, and people would bring like their favorite food or food from their culture. So yeah, just sharing our identities too, that really helped bring us together. And it also helped find a balance of like when to have fun, but also when to work when the job needs to be done. And I think because of that, it ended up being a very successful summer, managing all 22 of those folks. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very profound. I like the fact that like creating boundaries between yourself and the people that work with you, like how it has helped you like balance the relationship, the work relationship and the like the other informal relationship you have with each other. Very profound insight. Thank you so much for that. So I really love this question so much, and it goes like this: that if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Mm, this one's hard. I would say to my younger self to not silence myself, if that makes sense. I think the biggest thing college has taught me is like what it means to be an advocate and how to advocate for others and for myself in a way where it's not disrespectful to others, but also I'm not disrespecting myself and keeping my silence. um I feel like oftentimes growing up I wouldn't correct people, or I wouldn't say, hey, that's actually the wrong, you're that's not a good thing to be saying, especially when it came around stereotypes of immigrant people or any POC group in general. um People would think because I was younger I didn't know right from wrong, but because I come from a single mom, single immigrant mother at that, I had to grow up a lot faster and educate myself on so much more. So I did know more than what people expected. But I wish I never stayed silent in certain situations, because it could have helped educate other people, but also like show the POC community that you don't have to allow people to walk all over you and say these things. Um, just because you're young doesn't mean that you don't know any better. Um, and definitely that I think I learned that more in college, where I have been put in positions where I had to kind of speak up more. And just because I'm speaking up doesn't mean I'm going against you or fighting you. It's having a conversation, and I think that needs to be acknowledged more. Like it doesn't have to be viewed as confrontation.
Well, Emily, I can't thank you enough for giving us your time and engaging with us, sharing about your cultural identity and your heritage and letting us celebrate you. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Hmm. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yay! Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks again. And I look forward to um, co-hosting the career panel of celebrating the heritage and the work that other amazing folks are doing. So thank you, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon.